Welcome everyone to Pro NoCoders Office Hours, episode number 170. I am your host, Tonya. I'm here with member Nahum and Mike Kim, and we're going to get started in just a moment. But first, I want to make sure you know that we do daily office hours at Pro NoCoders. So Monday through Friday, we have at least one Zoom session every day, and we invite our members on and they can ask us any bubble question they want, and we do our best to give them an answer. Of course, we can't promise answers because nobody has all of them, but we do our best. We get it right a lot of the time, and we promise that they won't suffer with their questions alone. If you would like to join us and bring questions to Pro NoCoders that you're having about Bubble, you can go to pronocoders.com and sign up for office hours. You can also sign up for the vault if you would like. One quick announcement, it was just made, is our price on the Pro NoCoders membership for office hours is going up as of January 1st. And it's going to go from $99 per month for access to all of the office hours to $119 per month. So if you've been sitting on the fence and thinking about joining office hours, make sure you sign up before the price goes up. You get in at $99 per month because it will never go back down. Once we raise the price, it's not coming back down again. All right, we'll go ahead and get started with Nahum. Let's hear your questions.
All right. Guess I'll just pull it up.
Yeah, feel free to take over my screen.
Okay. All right. Can you see this?
I can.
Okay. So, like yesterday, we mentioned like the profiles and all that stuff. So what I'm trying to do is under this featured students, I'm trying to get the profile information, like random profiles, to just show up here. So like their picture, their name, and their school and stuff like that.
Sure. And you want, so describe it to me. Do you want like a table with like 3 columns across and maybe 1 or 2 or 3 down? Like, how did you want to do it?
So in our like prototypes, we have it one row, and you can scroll like left to right.
Scroll across. Okay. Yeah, perfect. And are you building in the new responsive editor or in the old one? Looks like the old one.
Old one, yeah.
Okay, cool. So what you're going to need is a repeating group.
Okay.
Yep. And then you're going to change it so that it's only 1 row. And then change the layout style to horizontal scrolling. There you go. And the columns, I think you'll want to go with probably 3, maybe. And then what you can do is you can cell repeating group does not have a fixed width. The cell minimum width probably make the cell minimum width. How wide is your page in total right now? Like in start 1080? Yeah, so I'd probably make a minimum width on the cells to be like 200 instead, or I'm guessing would work. Okay. And then yeah, so that's a good start. So now you're going to want to put in there the type of content is going to be user. Do you have separate in your database? Do you have a separate data type for student profile? Okay, yeah. So you do have a student profile. Okay, so awesome.
Actually, the profile is made from this general info.
General info? Okay. Okay, then we'll search for the general info data intake. Is there anything in that that you wouldn't want other people to be able to see about a user?
Yeah, like
Probably.
things like birthday, um, disabilities and stuff like that.
Okay, so let's go to your privacy rules real quick. Just there. And then for the general info data intake, let's say the default permissions are the check off the things that you do want people to be able to see. That about it?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're just going to make some on the design tab. We're going to search for the general info intake. Nope, the type of content will be the general. Yep, and now you're going to do a search for all of those. And then you're going to sort by probably random. And then, yeah, the only other thing I might say is I might put on your general info data type a complete yes or no field, because you're not going to want to show things where they don't have that information, right? So I would go into the search right now. Go just click where it says, yeah, add a new constraint. I would go through and say, okay, at a minimum, they have to have these fields filled out in order for me to want them to return in this search. So like you probably want to have their full name. And so is not empty. And then so forth. And you just keep going down the list and make sure that they don't have empty, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Thomas.
Hi.
How's your Friday?
Good. You?
Good. Long time no chat. We were just on Zoom like not that long ago.
Only about 3 years ago.
3 years ago?
It's a joke.
Yeah, well, I figured that was funny. I wish I had known you 3 years ago. Okay, so now that you have that, then in the design tab, now we have to figure out how you want to show that information. Like, do you want the background to be the same color or a different color? When they're in the tiles, like you need to do a little bit of design around how you want that information to show up. So I would recommend probably doing a group with a different color background to start. So you can just drag a group in there in that first cell. Yep. And then I'd make the background, yeah, I'd make it a different color. There you go. So now it'll pop up. We can leave it white for now. You can change the color later. And then probably at the very top, you want to show their picture. Do they have pictures?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first, actually just go ahead and leave that. Yeah, the group, the type of content will be the general. And the data source will be the current cell. Yeah, up at the top. Yep. So now you can put like an image in there, and you can put different text elements. And what you'll say is the current general info data intakes, and then you'll say full name, picture, that sort of thing, and design it the way that you want.
Okay. So actually, I think the pictures are in this one.
Okay.
Sorry, I think Fabio worked on this, so I'm like kind of lost on the data, but yeah, the
Gotcha.
images are here.
Gotcha. So the student profile data intake needs to be linked to the general info data intake. So probably what you want to do is put a a field on the general info data intake. And it's going to be the student profile data is what you'll call it. Yeah. And it'll be of type student. Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And so the way that you'll get to that picture is you'll refer to that. So like go ahead and put an image in the group. And you can make it smaller. Yep, and then insert dynamic data, and it'll be parent groups, general info. Yep, and then you want their student and then their picture. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're putting their full name in there.
Okay, I get the concept. I can
Yep.
design it
And
later.
if you want to preview it, you should, if you have any sample data in there, I'm not sure if you do or not.
Don't think I do.
Yeah, not yet. So that scroll bar is looking pretty gnarly. So let's change that. So go back into the repeating group. Let's see if we can apply the horizontal scrolling, and then, yeah, there's a whole trick to it. Thomas, do you happen to remember how to remove the scroll? I think it's like some CSS or something we put on the page to remove it. I'll find that information. I'll send it through Slack to you, because that scroll bar is not a happy thing. The other thing that you can do is when you take off the scroll bar, oh, you're not using Chrome. That's probably what it is. Are you not in Chrome?
No, I'm not.
Okay, yeah, so that's why you see that particular version of the scroll bar is browser based. So what I would recommend is I have a video, I just have to find it for you and I'll send it to you in Slack on how to remove the scroll bar. And then if you go to plugins, there's a great little plugin that you can put in and add a plugin. And it's like just type scroll and it should come up. And you want the scroll down, want the one that does the RG drag to scroll, that one, the free one. And that'll allow your users to drag the group over to scroll it instead. So you just have to.
Is that an element?
Yeah, I think so. It's horizontal drag is what it's called on the page.
Okay.
And then you just draw it on the page. And actually, I'd probably make it really tiny, like 1 pixel, because the way you connect it is you, and I'd even make it like in line with the repeating group itself, like move it up even with the repeating group. Yeah, there you go. So not in the repeating group though. There. and then click on the repeating group. And nope, you don't have it yet. So if you go into your settings and let's see here, in general, where it says there, expose the option to add an ID attribute to HTML elements, that one all the way over, and check that. Now, if you go back to design, at the bottom of that, you see the ID where it says ID attribute at the very bottom. Yep, so go ahead and just say whatever you want. You can say, as long as it doesn't start with a number, it has to start with a letter. So like you could say featured students or something. And then in the I think I would probably avoid the underscore just because I know it's finicky. So then in the other group, the element that you just drew on the page, you just have to put that ID attribute in there. Nope, at the very top. So delete it from there and put it up at the top. There you go. Yep. And then I would make sure that element's not, I don't think it's supposed to be in the repeating group. We can try it and see if it'll work. So just preview. And then I don't know if you have anything in there. I don't think you do, so I don't think it will scroll. Yeah. So once you add a few profiles in there, you can play around with that. And then, yeah, let me make a note to myself to send you that video for removing the scroll bar. Did you have another question? I'm assuming Thomas doesn't, but if Thomas, if you have a question, speak up.
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess since no one else. So this is more like a question in theory, because we're not like implementing it right now, but I just wanted to know if it was possible, because like on our application, we want to show like the donors. So the donors are going to be contributing towards students, like making donations. And we want them to have like recommendations based on the donors' interests and like their activity in the app. I just wanted to know like if it's possible to like parse that data in Bubble and like provide recommendations based on the supporters' activity in the site and stuff like that.
So we're talking about, so make the connection for me. So you're talking about students viewing donors based on shared interests?
Yeah, so the other way around, the donors
Viewing
the
students
yeah.
based on shared interests. Okay, sure. So how are you storing the interest in the database right now?
As general info.
As a list of text?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to need to make that instead. And Juan was talking about this last night. Instead of a list of text, we're going to need it to be a separate, like an interest thing in the database. And so you can, and yeah, you were in the right spot in data types. You can just add the new type called interest. And it'll need to have a name. So it's a create and then create a field called name of type text. Awesome. And then in your, where that list of text was stored, it actually needs to be changed out to being a list of interests instead. Yeah. You can call it interest, it won't bother Bubble. I would put the S at the end of it though.
Okay.
And then interests. Yep. Create. And I would change the name of the interest thing in your database. Instead of having it plural, I would just have it singular. So if you go up to the top left, yeah, there, and change it to just singular. That way it's easier to find. Okay, and then go back to where you were, and you would remove the list of texts interests there. Have you used that at all? Do you need to convert any sample data? Or does it matter?
Yeah, I think it's being used right now.
Okay, so the way you find that is you go in to use the magnifying glass at the top. Magnifying next to where it says development. Yep.
Yep.
And then search by
Data source.
uses field. And then the field is going to be the one on, yeah, the general info, and then the interest, and it'll be, I think the second one is the list of texts. So this is how you find where you need to go and change your workflows and things in order to stop using that one and use the correct one instead. And you have to change the type of choices to be interest. There you go. And then the current option would be the current option's name. Yep. And then the default value would be, yeah, the second one. There you go. Interests, and then first item, I guess. So we choose the wrong interest, parent group, general info. Remove the first item because I think it's a multi select, so it should one more. Yep. There you go. Awesome. And then interest, actually that would that input interest tags value. That looks like it's looking for a custom state.
Right, yeah.
So we need to go find that custom state and change it to be a list of, that one's easier. So if you go into design and just double click on the outside of the content there. And then go to the little eye icon at the top right. You don't have any custom states there. Go back to the workflow where we were. Let me see the name of what it was. Input interests tags value. So right click on that and reveal the element. Yeah, and then go to the little eye up at the top right. No, oh, it's an input. Okay, so never mind. So did we change this one? Oh, it has static choices. Got it. So we need to make this dynamic choices instead. And the types of choices will be interest. And just do a search for all interest should be fine for now. And then the current option will be its name. There you go. So now when they're selecting interest, it'll be in the right form. You just have to now add some interests to the database. So if you go to data, to app data, and then new entry. And then we'll just do a few of them. So chemistry was one of them. Go ahead and check that box to hide this mess. It's okay. New entry. And then there you go. So now you'll maintain that list as a database thing. And the reason that's important is now you can, when the student is selecting interests, they will be populating the same thing in the database that the donor will be when the donor is selecting their interests. And then you can search for, like when they're logged in or something, you can search for students whose list can like overlaps with the list of the donor, right?
Gotcha.
Is that making a little sense?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
But with this, can they still enter like custom interests?
Yeah,
Or does
you
it
can.
have to be these?
Yeah, you have to be really careful with that. So you had it such that they could add their own interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even in the way you were probably implementing it, it's something I would recommend against, because what you'll end up having is a bunch of people entering the same thing but misspelled in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would almost be better to ask them, if they don't see their interests listed, to go ahead and enter one, and then it'll create an interest, but it won't be an approved interest yet. And then you can go through and approve the ones that you want. You want to have some control over what's being shown to your users. Like you're dealing with teenagers, so you're going to have teenagers entering all sorts of words.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I can
like,
see that happen.
yeah, so you don't want to just show those by default.
Okay. So you'd rather like add in like base interests here and then.
Yeah, I would add to the data type itself. If you go to
Yeah.
data types, I would add in there in a new field called active, yes or no. And then go ahead and create that, and then set the default of that one to no. And then if you allow them to create a new interest, default it to no, but then you can create, like in an admin portal, the ability for Fabio or someone to go through and look at the ones that have been entered and go ahead and activate them if they're good.
Okay.
So now, where did you want to want the, by the way, hi, Steve, I saw that you came in. I'll be right with you. Where did you want to like be able to do a search?
Like on the interests and shared interests?
Yeah, so you want the donors to be able to find students based on shared interests, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I said it was in theory, because we don't really have like the supporters set up yet.
Okay, all right, yeah. So, well, your database is set up now so that you're keeping track of interest in a better way, so that I mean, you might decide that you're not even going to collect the donor's interests, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could, and then you can have you can just do a search, have them be able to do a search and filter it by interests.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you wanted, you can make a quick, like or do you want me to show you what I mean?
Sure, go ahead.
So And we have a brand new video that is going into some pretty fancy filtering stuff that should be available on the vault pretty soon here. Pablo's working on it. So just so I can make sure, we'll go ahead and say this is interest. Data profile. So your data profile has an interests list. Like that. And then your data per this will just have like a name. Right. So what we want to do is if we're allowing, like, let's say the donor is going to we'll do a drop down here. The donor is going to have a drop down that's going to be of type. Oh, it was up here. Of type interest. We'll do a search for all interests. Where all interests, and then here, like I was saying, for the interest, you also want to have an active. So we'll current, so all interests where the active equals yes. And we'll show the name. And then what we are going to have is a repeating group. And then the type of content will be a data profile. We'll search for all of the data profiles. And then we're going to do something fancy. You could do it directly on the search in this case. What we can say is that the interests contains the drop downs value, right? And then we're going to tell it to ignore empty constraints. So then what we have is if we go and let's just make a text here. So current data profiles, interests, and we'll just do each item's name. Like this, and you could put it in tags like we did last night with Juan as well. This is just for expediency. So if I go in and I create a few profiles, let's see, first I'll create a few interests. So here, new entry, we'll say yes, and this will be basketball. Soccer. Volleyball. Then we'll have one called volleyball. Then we'll have data profiles. This was what Juan was showing you the other day. So if you go into setting your primary display fields and you change the interest to display by name, it will make it easier manipulating things in the back here. So yeah, so the interest will say volleyball. Basketball. Soccer. Okay, so I have 3 of these profiles with different interests, right? And now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to preview. So I see all 3 of the things that I made in the database. But imagine that this is like thousands of things, right? And I might only show, 10 on the screen, and I give my user, the donor, the option to say, oh, well, I want to see the ones that have soccer, or I only want to see the ones with volleyball, or I only want to see the ones with basketball. And it helps to filter it down.
Okay, that makes sense. That's cool.
Okay. Awesome. Steve, do you have a question for me today?
I did. I'm slacking with Pablo. I don't know if I meet the criteria actually, because again, it's that same app where I don't have access to the admin, and I am unable to provide access to it.
Oh, we don't limit your questions in office hours, so you can ask a question in office hours. It's fine. If it's too complicated, like to handle in one office hour session, then we can go into multiple office hour sessions to like kind of spread it out. Or if you need it answered more rapidly than that, then you can book some time with us.
Yeah, I might try and book some time if anyone had some time, unfortunately today, but
yeah, I'm sure we can find something for you today. It's not a problem. Yep, I will. Yeah, we'll work that out. Awesome. Does anybody else have any questions for office hours? Any questions unrelated to that one, Steve?
Unfortunately, that's all I'm working on.
That's all you're working on?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Nahum, did you have anything else?
Yeah, I guess I have one last thing.
Sure. You can take over my screen if you want.
Sure. All right, so as I mentioned before, there's gonna be donors and giving money to students, right? So one thing we were trying to play around with is like integrating this with Stripe for like payment processing. So we were wondering like how to go about doing that and setting up Bubble and Stripe.
Awesome. Yeah, we can cover that again. We did that earlier this week.
Okay.
So are the students going to be then signing up for Stripe accounts so you can pay them out directly through Stripe?
No.
How's that going to work?
So the money will go to, like we'll have unique links in Stripe. So we want to attach the unique links here. And then when the supporter clicks it, it takes them to that Stripe payment link. And then that goes to like the Arbol account. And then I guess we pay it out. I don't know how it works. They do all the finance stuff, but.
Okay, that sounds like a different setup in Stripe than I've ever worked with before. So I probably need to talk to, I guess, is Fabio the one who knows more about how that's working?
Yeah,
and set up?
either Fabio or David. Yeah.
Or David. Okay. Yeah. So I'd need to know exactly, like, I've never worked with like separate payment links in Stripe before. So it sounds like it's not going to be going through the regular Stripe Bubble plugin. The way that I know how to do it to pay out the students is you could collect all of the money in in Arbel's Stripe platform account and then not have it directly sent automatically to a student, but also have the students sign up for accounts where you could send them money and Stripe directly, like that kind of thing. So, but I'd need to know more about like what the needs are around Stripe and what the plan was for utilizing it.
Okay.
But the first way I described earlier, Kim, do you remember which episode that was? It was earlier this week.
Or
For the Stripe. It was the end of Wednesday, I think, is when I did it.
oh yeah, I can look for it.
Yeah. Kim will find you the link to that because I went over how to use the regular Bubbles Stripe plugin to not like how exactly to set it up with Stripe and how to collect money with it, and then also how to sign up registered sellers through it. So, which is how you send money from Stripe to one of your users.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was all the questions I had.
Awesome. Well, thank you for
Yeah, no
bringing
problem.
questions. It's awesome.
No problem.
All right, we're going to wrap up the office hours session of the office hours part of the session. We're going to move into our after hours session, which is where it's members only. We're going to turn off the broadcasting, turn off the recording, and just spend some time together. If you would like to join us for one of those sessions, you have to be a member. So please go sign up at ProNoCoders.com. And remember, we are going to be raising the price of Pro NoCoders office hours on January 1st. The price is moving from $99 per month now to $119 then. So if you've been sitting on the fence about whether or not to join Pro NoCoders office hours, don't hesitate. Join now before the price goes up. We'll be back here on Monday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time for office hours episode number 171. I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you everybody for watching.